Hi, I'm Jeff Lance from Picasso Piano Academy. In today's video, we're going to be working on the G major scale, and I'm going to show you ways you can use it to increase your theory knowledge. I'm going to show you ways to use it to improve your ear, and of course, I'm going to be showing you various technique exercises. So, without any further ado, here's the G major scale, played pretty slow, 4 octaves up and back. Okay, so that's what it looks like played fairly slow. Now, before we go on any further, I want to explain to you why we're working on the G major scale today. Well, it's because as we go around on the circle of fifths, starting from C major, which is the key of no sharps and no flats, we move around here to G, which is the key of 1 sharp. And how does that work? Well, first of all, from C to G is a perfect fifth. So actually, the circle of fifths would be probably more appropriately called the circle of perfect fifths, because starting with C, if we move up a perfect fifth, in other words, the 5th degree of the C major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we move up a perfect fifth, now we're on G. Now, G has all the same notes as the C major scale except 1. And here's the 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That 7th degree is sharped. So it's all white notes, except when we get to F, the 7th degree of the G scale, we sharp it. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to practice 3 different ways to play the G major scale. We're going to start with finger staccato. And if you're not totally familiar with finger staccato, you can go take a look. I've got a video dedicated to finger staccato. And once you check that out, come back. So here we go, G major scale, finger staccato. Okay, now we're going to play it with the crab technique. Also, you can go check it out if you don't know the crab technique already, and then come back. Here we go, G major scale using the crab technique. Okay, and finally, this is a new exercise that I'm introducing in this video, and it's a swung version of the scale. And swung means long, short, long, short, long. Here we go. Okay, so there's three ways of practicing the scale. Now, if you're not familiar with the G major scale, do one hand at a time. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but the fingering for the G major scale is exactly the same fingering as the C major scale, except you just start on a different note and you've got that F sharp. Okay, so now there's one exercise that I designed here that's kind of a mashup of the G scale into the C scale. And it's kind of like a morph type thing. And the reason I'm doing this is because in reality, when you're actually in the heat of a gig and playing and soloing or whatever, you are using scales. It's just that whenever you could be, your hand could be somewhere, and wherever your hand is at that moment, if the chord changes, and because the chord changes, you need to change your scale. You can't just start at the beginning of that scale and play. You've got to just drop into a scale from wherever you're at. And by the way, just because you start on a different note that's not C, as long as it's all white notes, it's still a C scale. Okay, so here's what that looks like. I'm going to start out 2 octaves up and back with the G scale, the scale of 1 sharp. Then I'm going to go up 2 octaves up and back, the C scale, all white notes. Here we go. Okay, now I'm just going to show you kind of a real-world demonstration of why you want to be able to just drop into any scale from any point. Let's say, for the sake of discussion, we're playing something in E flat, and so I'm going to be playing an E flat scale with my right hand, and then suddenly we go to a different chord. Well, wherever I'm at, if I'm playing some kind of cool lick or some kind of melodic shape, I've got to adapt to a new chord. And here's kind of what it looks like. So as you notice, every time I changed a chord, my right hand was doing some kind of a melodic shape, and I just adapted to whatever the new chord is. So that's why I did this mashup of the G and C chord. Now, as we progress through different chords, we're going to have different kinds of mashups. A lot of times, a lot of chords, especially, a lot of songs, especially blues and rhythm and blues, might only have 3 chords, but it's important, if you're doing something really cool, the chord changes, you've got to adapt your scale. So we're going to be getting way deeper into that as you start learning more scales. By next month, you will have mastered C and G, and we're going to move on to D. And then some point after that, we're going to start doing more interesting mashups. So that's that, okay? And here's an exercise I want you to learn. It's Hanon number 1 in the key of G. Here's the way it goes. Okay. Just one pattern repeated up diatonically, in other words, using only the notes from the G major scale, going up an octave and back. And I also want you to learn that same Hanon number 1 in the key of C. Here's what it looks like. Okay, and those three technique exercises that we used earlier on to go 4 octaves up and back on the G scale. Feel free to use them when you do Hanon or any other kind of melodies or riffs or anything, okay? Now, so that's that. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about the interval relationships of a major scale. And regardless of what scale it is, from 1 degree to another, in all 12 scales, the interval distances remains the same. And here's what I mean. Let's go to G and go to the 1st and 2nd degrees together. That's an interval of a major second. And major second is also called a whole step. It also is 2 half steps. So from here to here is a whole step. 2nd degree to 3rd degree, whole step. 3rd to 4th is a half step. 4th to 5th is a whole step. 5th to 6th, whole step. 6th to 7th, whole step. 7th to 8th, a half step. So, whole step, half step, whole step, half step. So here's a different way of approaching the intervals of a major triad. And it's, let's see, here it is. R221, 2221. What that means is root note, 2 half steps, 2 half steps, 1 half step, 2 half steps, 2 half steps, 2 half steps, 1 half step. Now, keep in mind that once you know all of your major scales, you won't really even have to bother with this because you already know. But if you want to shoot ahead to some, like A flat major scale, if you want to build some chords based on A flat, it's handy to know R221, 2221. In the last lesson, we talked about intervals and how to build major triads. So as adapted to G major scale, here's the 1st and 2nd degree, so that's a major 2nd, major 3rd, perfect 4th, perfect 5th, major 6th, major 7th, and then perfect octave. What if we wanted to turn this chord into this chord? Well, this is a major triad. It's got that major 3rd and perfect 5th. But a minor triad, we lower that major 3rd to a minor 3rd. So now we have a minor 3rd plus a perfect 5th. Okay? So, and also, if you take a perfect 5th and you lower this top note by a half step, this is called a diminished 5th. So let's say we have this major triad and we turn the major 3rd into a minor 3rd. And we turn this perfect 5th into a diminished 5th, play it all together. That's called the diminished triad, okay? So let's go back to a major triad, which is a major 3rd and a perfect 5th. And let's say we raise this 5th by a half step. This is called an augmented 5th. And so a major 3rd plus an augmented 5th makes an augmented triad. Okay, so once again, because of the fact that we understand scales and use that as the backdrop, we're able to now create intervals of major intervals and perfect intervals, or minor intervals, diminished intervals, augmented intervals. Okay, so we'll leave it there. So, on the upcoming videos, we're going to show more complex chords, different kinds of 7th chords, then into 9th chords and 13ths. Over the range of this video series, which is a year, we're going to be really delving deeply in some theoretical things that totally hinge on your knowledge of major scales. Knowledge of scales is the well that everything springs from that turns you into a totally accomplished musician. And so I feel like it's really worth you delving in and learning this and give it an honest try. Just do it, get it done, get it behind you so you can move on, because the whole musical world awaits your accomplishment of these 12 major scales. Okay, so have a good one. We'll see you next month with the D major scale. All right, we'll see you then.